Okay, folks,
Appreciate everybody being here today.
Wildcats coming off Saturday's win at Missouri and looking forward to being this coming Saturday, the end of the season with a 3-game homestand. First game is against Vanderbilt at noon, being televised on the SEC network. And of course, couldn't let the day go by without
Wishing Susan Lax happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
All right, Coach.
Direct all questions to her. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's right, exactly.
As I mentioned after the game, just very proud of our team to come away with a victory. It's certainly a challenge. You get late in the year, you're coming off the season that we have, a tough loss the week prior. Just getting them motivated all week and getting their minds right, getting healed up physically, mentally, getting prepared to go into another game that you knew was going to be absolutely a hard-fought, tough game. And, if it wasn't for their preparation, if it wasn't for them being 100% committed to each other, we wouldn't have got it done. And each phase came up with plays when they had to, so very proud of that effort. Obviously, still a lot of things to improve on, and that's what we have to concentrate on. And heading into this week with playing Vandy, that again, everybody just thinks that is not a very good football team. That is not true. Vandy has arguably coming off one of the hardest stretches of any team. If you look at them the last 4 or 5 games and who they've had to play in our conference and what they must be going through physically and mentally, it's just a very tough grind, as I had mentioned the past couple weeks. And so they've had much the same. It's been very difficult. They've had a tough run, but again, you could just look at it. I noticed it a week ago, knowing we were coming up on Vandy, but watching the way they played Missouri. And with an opportunity with the ball late in the fourth quarter with an opportunity to go tie or go win. And again, I know how tough Missouri is and at their place, and they had every opportunity to go tie or win the game, and Missouri made the plays to win it. So we're up against a team that is much better than people perceive. I have a lot of respect for Clark Lee and the way he coaches and their team, and we have to put it back together. Much of the message that I had a week ago, we got to continue to do that, continue to stay committed to each other, relentlessly try to improve each and every week. And the big thing for us, and all the questions are going to start coming, is we need to play cleaner. We understand that and know that, and need to coach better in certain areas and need to be make the routine look routine. And yes, that comes with snaps. Let me just say that the special teams, we were plus 51 in hidden yards, which is pretty impressive. The snaps, the missed field goals are not okay. We clearly will continue to work at that. We've used two snappers in that game. Clay has been doing all the punts because Cade had a leg injury and was not able to run very well, but Clay's been doing a great job. That's actually the first bad snap Clay's had all year. So everybody assumes that the other one, that was actually Cade. So Cade has had one bad snap all year. Clay has had one bad snap all year. So we have confidence in both those guys. We'll continue to work on it. And I don't want to overreact and overcoach. They've done a very good job. They need to do it right all the time. And we'll continue to do that. Feel very bad for Colin as he made a tremendous play for us at that moment, but unfortunately he took a serious injury and will be out for the remainder of the season. So he made a great play, sacrificed for the team. Unfortunately, he is done and hurt seriously. So we're getting more tests and other evaluations on him today.
Going off what you said about Colin, what did you just think the way the fan base has supported him by owing him money, they're changing avatars to his.
But it doesn't surprise me for the fan base, and that's awesome. It's wonderful. Our players do a lot and without fanfare or notice. But in this case, obviously drew some attention to himself with making a very good play but unfortunately getting hurt. So as always, we thank everybody for their support and put it to good use for charity.
You mentioned the clean play. In general, your teams are pretty disciplined, and it's not just bad snaps, pre-snap penalties, third downs. Is there anything you can point to improve the discipline? I mean, I know it's November, but it's very uncharacteristic of your team.
Yeah, but we have to just continue, to work and to strive to get better. I think, as I mentioned last week, the bounce back, the commitment to each other to elevate our toughness, our attitude, to go on the win, to bounce back, to show that resiliency that we've shown through the years, that took a high level. However, it also takes clean play to win and to win at the level we want to, win at. So we'll never give up on that. So yeah, I think you just continue to grind on that, continue to coach, continue to show the good things that we've done and have done in the areas where we need to improve.
Bucked a trim scored on the first possession. I think it was only the third time this year in the first against the Power Five. What was the offense doing well, and is there any difference with Rich calling that drive from upstairs?
Well, I wouldn't say on that drive you could say it was different from being upstairs, just because a lot of that we have set up throughout the week, but I think clearly, creating an explosive early that set that up. Gave us a big opportunity at hitting that explosive. Will threw an absolute beautiful pass, and Barry on made the explosive play that got the momentum going. It also helped, and I contemplated going both ways with, somebody asked me that question the week before, whether to receive or defer, and I was thinking about it again, just to be aggressive and take the ball. But with the win the way it was, I'm glad I deferred, and we had a huge stop. We came out with, if I'm not mistaken, the first two plays were negative yardage plays, and then they got some yards. But to create that kind of energy on defense and then get the ball and then create the explosive play, now that's what you want, and so, finally that played out the way we're looking for as well.
After you watched the tape, Saturday you said that you wish you could have DeAndre forever, but Trevin's a great player. What did he do after you watched the tape that kind of stood out as such a great player?
Yeah, I mentioned that last week on Monday in here. I mentioned it in my wrap-up Thursday. I wasn't worried about Trevin's play. I really wasn't, because he's a heck of a football player. And, and again, that you always want to compliment DeAndre, because he has a big impact even when he's not playing. And that's a special player, a special leader, very unselfish. And, but when you have guys like that, you are excited for their opportunity, because you want to let them go eat, let them go see what they can do. And sure enough, he was prepared, and he's done that, because when you're a really good player and you're buying your time, it's easier said than done to stay in that, to continue to prepare. So when you go in there and he gets that start, now he was our defensive player of the game, and that just says a lot about him as well.
Are you expecting DeAndre back?
He has a chance, yeah. We'll see today. We'll know more today, but he's definitely better, and he's going to go out there and do some things later this afternoon and test it out.
Coach White said that he wanted Trevin to hold him, not kind of like, I view that as the pain metaphor, so to speak. But you think you turn the loose most this week, let him do play?
Yeah, when we're talking about triggering and trusting, your training, your coaching, and he did that. He showed that early. He triggered, and he trusted his play, trusted his training, and he made plays. And I think going back to the first person that asked me about that, some of the things that stood out, we're confident in his play, confident in his ability, but also what stood out is how stout he is. When he gets somebody, he gets them. There's no oozing. A lot of times, most of the time they go the other way when he's making a tackle. So it just shows you his ability, his explosiveness, and his strength.
Mark, what are you seeing from Andrew Phillips?
I've been very impressed. I thought he did some really good things at Tennessee as well. And we all know, that's tough. But I think he's gaining some confidence and playing good at that position. And the nickel spot I've talked about over the years is one of those spots that takes some reps. That there's just a lot of different techniques that come into play, and I feel like he's really doing a good job.
Mark, Will said after the game that his number of injuries, it affects his mobility most at this point. Just what exactly does it say that he's playing through all this?
Well, it doesn't, first of all, it doesn't surprise anyone that he's, going to tough his way out. That, again, I've said it many times in different ways to people. Will's not reckless. Just because he's tough and he's physical and fights through things, he's not a reckless person. He's very intelligent. And there's nothing, that we would let him play with that we felt like could get worse. And that's not the case. There's a difference between hurting and being injured. And we would never let him play injured. And, he's hurting, but if you ask 95% of our football team right now, they're hurting. And it's a tough game. But doesn't surprise me with Will. Yes, the mobility is unfortunate, for himself and for us, because we've seen what he's done in the past with his mobility. And, Will continue to work extremely hard, get treatment, and be as ready as he can be to help his team.
Mark, you mentioned Tom after the game. You referred to the little bit of chippiness on the sideline when guys got knocked out of bounds, but it showed how emotionally engaged your team was.
Yeah.
Is that something you'll try to talk to them about carrying over? I mean, it's a great indication of what you want.
I will for sure. Talk to that about the team, just because if we didn't have that mindset, if we weren't prepared like that, we wouldn't have won the game. Because there's emotional swings, there's ups, there's downs, there's going to be good and there's going to be bad. But our team was resilient and they were tough, and I thought we were very unselfish. And, so I think, we learned. Again, I showed them 2 years ago, we were in that same situation and went up there and it was the opposite. And not that they weren't ready to play, because they were. They play very hard. I have a lot of respect for the way they play and how hard they play and how well they coach them, to be that way. But we had to match that or exceed it, and I was proud of our team's effort because, is again one of the things we talk about. You learn from those scars. You learn from the things you do wrong or mistakes, and so we were ready for it.
You alluded to the resiliency earlier, touchdown called back, yet still were able to turn that red zone off into points. Was there something different about the team this weekend, just in the red zone period, turning touchdowns to field goals?
Yeah, I think, it was important. I mean, we hit the explosive. Unfortunately, we got the penalty and called back and continued to bang away. The protection was there. Will stood in the pocket, trusted it, hit Dane, and Dane finished it off. That's a great team play because the protection was there. There was a good call. Will went to the right guy, but it's hard also when the quarterback's getting hit, and as a defensive coach, I mean, there's a term we use a lot, is affecting the quarterback. That doesn't mean it's always sacks, and when you're getting that kind of pressure and mixing things up, it affects the play. It can't help but not. But to Will's credit, as he was coming off the field and we as a team weren't doing our job, I would grab him from time to time and just say, hey, hang in there, we're going to need you. You know what I mean? We're going to need you to be you and make a play when we have to, and he certainly did that. And that says a lot too. That says a lot about his character, his mental toughness, and trusting and believing that we were going to be able to do that.
Mark, that's recruiting is re-recruiting. And days where transfer pool, how do you strike the balance? I mean,
Well, I mean, you have to. I think, the culture of your team, helps and matters, and that's each other, and that's the players in the locker room, and how they treat each other, and, in this day and age, it is inevitable. that we're gonna have turnover, and that you're gonna have guys that enter the transfer portal, and there's gonna be guys that we hopefully add. I mean, it just happens. It's part of this new world, and you know, sometimes it's for the better and sometimes it's not. As coaches, you always, the thing, you know, where people sometimes we open ourselves up if you just say, you know, we're against it. We just want to continue to help people grow and push play. Sometimes it's absolutely essential. It's the right thing for both places. It's the right thing for a player. It's the right thing for the program. And then other times there's young men that you say, hey, let me help continue to develop you mentally, physically, and give them the tough love, you know what I mean, that sometimes we all need, you know.
Mark, where does NIL come in on that?
NIL is a major factor. I mean, it is. I mean, I don't think I need to expound on that anymore, right? I mean, it's a player. It's a major player.
Is Kentucky where it needs to be on that front?
I think any program would say they want more. You know, I mean, think of, you know, the Yankees probably want more money. You know what I mean? So, I mean, everybody, you know, yeah, everybody needs that. I'll say this, without getting too much into it. We've worked our way through that as an administration, as an institution, as a program to find the balance, to make sure it's right, make sure it's clean, make sure it's legal, fair, ethical, moral. And we've worked through all that. And so our administration has helped us as a program and all of our student athletes and coaches to get through some of that. And yes, I think without making this about that today, I'm getting asked about it, but I mean, yes, we need support from the community, from the state. It is what it is. If we want to compete at the highest level, we got to have money in the bank. And that's legal, and there's collectives, and we have collectives in place that are supported, that are cleared from our administration and our place that you're allowed to put money into. So, donate.
Mark, now that you guys are bowl eligible, what is the message to your players to keep them engaged or to keep them from becoming complacent with 3 games left to play on the schedule?
No, that's not an issue. I mean, bowl eligibility and that isn't even, you know, not, again, I want to say this very clear, not that we ever take that for granted. It's very hard. It's very difficult. Once again, I don't have to look at it now, but I get that SEC information every week on Sunday sitting on my desk, and, you know, take a look around, and things are hard. Things are tough. There's very good, proud programs that we're all fighting, and we don't take that for granted, because things can, you know, take a tick up or a tick down very easily, very quickly nowadays. So we don't take it for granted, but complacency or any of that won't cross our mind. It's about continuing to, you know, as you mentioned earlier, just with 3 games left in November, you know, we got to still be relentless in our improvement, you know, and we've got to finish strong. You know, that old saying, remember November is no joke. You know, you really want to remember how you finish.
The offensive line looked good against Mississippi State, then have struggled these last 2 weeks. There were some drive killers in there on Saturday. Was there something that unit did against Mississippi State that you need to see more of just to hold up?
We you know, it's always a team effort, it's a group effort. There were some things in there that were can be improved, and there were some mistakes, whether it be technique or strain or finishing or just doing their job. There was a couple where they were doing their job and tried to do a little extra and exposed us, and then there's time when the protection is there, but Will maybe don't trust it because he has been hit, and so and then there's, you know, plays and things we could do better. We're all in it together, and you know, we have to continue, just like I just mentioned, over and over. But you know, we got to get better this week, you know, and continue to you know, just everybody doing their piece, doing their part. And there were moments in there Saturday just enough to help us win the game. Sure, we need to be clean across the board, and that comes from coaching and teaching and making sure we get the ball out the right spot. You know, having the right play calls. You know, when we are max protection and slide protection, do it. Do your job. Trust that the person next to you is going to do theirs. So there's a lot of things that contribute to that.
You mentioned earlier in the year that the injuries were kind of a struggle with the continuity of the unit. It seems like they've had that continuity the last few weeks. Is that going to continue, or could you see like Keontae get in there, like some of the other pieces get in there and get some experience?
I'm not sure. I mean, we were, got to continue to work at that and continue to get guys ready. Both DeAndre and Keontae were close to getting into the game Saturday and try to continue to get them where they need to be.
Mark, with Keontae in general, I don't think it's a surprise that a freshman offensive lineman might not be ready in this league. But what went into the decision to just play him every game and not try to preserve that red shirt?
Yeah, I think, just that, we just felt like there would be a time when he'd be ready to play, and so we want to continue, to get him. Like I said, we're moments away from putting him in there Saturday. And so, you just feel like a guy like that, that is definitely going to be what you want them to be. And if they are, they're not going to be here in 5 years anyway, so.
We talk a lot about protecting Will and guys getting after him, but you got after the quarterback quite a bit Saturday. What's the next step for pressuring? How important is that against a freshman quarterback next week?
It's always important, and I'm not sure what's going on with AJ. He got something happened to him again. It looks like physically Saturday, so we're not sure whether he'll play or right. But we have to be ready for either or. But anytime, I think it's always important. I think you know that, and I mean any defense you want to again use affect them, whether it's coverage change-ups, pressure, disciplined rush lanes. I thought our guys played really hard Saturday. I thought Brad had a really good plan. Defense coaches, even at times when we maybe lost contain or something, we still affected him the way he had to move out, move out of the pocket and not be in rhythm and in timing.
And Phillips and Wallace, both guys who normally don't get their number called, do you think they're a little hungrier when they don't? They're kind of a newer guy that's getting called on stuff.
Well, we just got to continue, as we go through the year, you want to continue to develop and bring guys along and get them ready. And that's an individual responsibility as well, of not just going through the motions, but making sure they're truly prepared, when their number's called, to be able to come in and not just play, but play effectively. And I think that's, kind of a big deal. And I think a guy like Trevin, again, is a really good example of that, I think he said it, and somebody pointed it out to me, that he said he was nervous and DeAndre really helped him and talked him through it. But that tells me two things. Number one, the leadership of DeAndre doesn't surprise me, and the unselfishness of DeAndre doesn't surprise me. But what's also great to see is that nervousness comes from performing for his team and not just being out there because I want to play, I want to start. It's I want to play and I want to be effective. And I say this a lot to the team. It's not about how you play. I mean, yes, we take pride in our individual responsibility to perform, but more importantly, how does the team play when you're in the game?
To follow up on that, we talked to Trevor a little bit about how was the overall communication among not just the linebackers but the back seven?
They were solid. Not perfect, but really solid, really good, and good structure. We had good position on the ball. As I mentioned, early in the game, we got away from coming under one block, but we had guys rallying to it, and they were a little off. A little slip helped us maybe. But other than that, the structure, the leverage was important because they'll try to circle you. You know what I mean? They'll pin and pull and just get different blocking schemes to get on the perimeter and that's part of their game, and they do it well. They block well on the perimeter and they try to get on the edges. And everybody, offensively, you're going to attack the perimeter and you're going to attack inside. Zone schemes, gap schemes, but also on the perimeter. And our structure was really solid and our guys were flying around and really putting good, hat placement. Early, we missed one, but luckily we got away with it and guys were running hard to the ball. Later, you saw that even when we were up, just really good position. And you're not going to miss many tackles when you have a lot of guys in good position on the ball.
Trevor made that first tackle that you on the very first play. Did you feel this? I got to think you felt pretty good when you saw it.
Well, without a doubt. I mean, you're just kind of in the moment, just ready for the next play. But I thought, the first and second play kind of set the tone, of guys where, I felt again that, we really pushed hard. And again, I said it in here, if I'm not mistaken, last Monday, but it had to be team-led. It had to be player-led. You know what I mean? Like, I could get up there and say whatever, motivate, and I do, and I try, but ultimately it has to come from within. And I felt like they were certainly ready.
Point yet where you consider other options at kicker, or is it still clear in practice that Matt's the best unit?
Yeah, I mean, Matt's the starting kicker right now. Yeah, I think it's fair to say we constantly are working other guys and getting them ready. And, a lot of times like that, and, I don't know why I use golf a lot as an analogy with kickers sometimes, but it's like, they have it in them, you know what I mean? And I have trust in him. That second one, that was from 47 yards. I mean, would it come up a yard or two short, and really a big gust hit it, and he had to hit it high. And that's a combination of things. It's just like as I talk about quarterback players, sacks. It's not all just O linemen. There's tight ends, there's backs, there's quarterbacks. Everybody's in it. It's kind of the same with kicking. Like he's afraid to drive it because we have been given a little bit of penetration. But the protection this week was really good. We put Justin Rogers to put him into the right side, Keontae to the left, and Keontae felt more. He was much more sturdy on the left. Probably his right foot is anchoring, and he was really, really good. And Justin came in and helped us, so the protection was good. I think the first missed. I think his operation was so fast. We've worked on getting the operation faster. It was just, a fraction too fast. And then the second one, he probably tried to get it up, but it got up into that wind. But he could have made that, and he was confident. He told me, point blank, and he wouldn't do that. You know what I mean? He's going to be honest. He knows me well enough, and he would tell me. He told me point blank. He said, I could go this way 50, no problem. And if you hit a gust, you hit a gust, and he hit it a little high. And again, I can't blame him for that. I thought it was a good kick. I think he's worried about getting the ball up, not getting it blocked. And, because in other games we're getting some leakage. So you put all that together, and those are all just things you constantly work at and get better. We need to continue to work the off time, continue to work the snaps. I mean, again, I get it. I defend some of the special teams because there's some stuff we do really well. I mean, we had 2 inside the 10, or we were plus 51. Our kickoff return team, the way it's kicking us the ball. I mean, that's pretty dangerous. That's a high degree of respect. In the SEC, where they're not kicking you the ball, I mean, you don't see that very often. Certainly from the number 1 team in the country, 2 weeks ago, and this team. I mean, so we're doing some really good things. Is it okay to snap the ball over somebody's head when the game's on the line? I think we all know that. I mean, so I mean, and again, to Clay's defense, I think every one of his snaps this year, and I want to say 6 games last year when Cade got hurt, they've been perfect. It's not the same thing. I mean, and Cade's been good. He had one field goal. You know what I mean? So, it's not okay. We want to be 100%. Certainly when the game's on the line, but to lump it all together is not right. You know what I mean? So that's where, we have to look at those things. Again, I'm not making an excuse for that. That's not good football. It's not something I want to look at and think that's not good. That's not clean. When I'm the head football coach and they're snapping it over our head with the game on the line, I mean, that's not good. But again, I'm not going to bring him in my office and break his arm. Yeah.
Another communication question. After the game, when we were talking to Rich about being up in the box, he was talking about the communication from up in the box to down to the players. Is that kind of an overlooked or underrated thing, making sure guys are seeing the right thing in the box and getting it communicated correctly to the players?
Yeah, I think it's important, and that's where, as I mentioned after the game, as I was talking, I was like, you could talk to Rich because Rich was right about to take the place before he and I ever talked. Because after the game, doing our thing, I'm talking to the team, I come right down and talk to y'all. But I think, for him, I'm sure there's and I told you from my own experience as a coordinator, you know, there's things where you love about being up there, and then and then there's certain things you really love about being down, because you want to look guys in the eye and talk to them and talk them through things. So there's good and bad with that. But for him to be up and to see the game, if it helps him, and again, up there you could write things down, you could have it at your fingertips to have, you know, plays or things you know you want to come back to. And you also can see the big picture and see where exactly what went wrong and communicate it down. And then you have to trust and make sure the people down below are getting it, you know, talked to. And again, we can put the headsets on Will and guys like that and just have him talk to them from up there. So, you know, I think it'll help us. I think, you know, when you have a quarterback as mature as Will and he could listen to those things and he could understand and process them, I think it's the right thing for right now.
He said that
Last one.
Good.
Can I follow?
Yeah, follow up. Yeah, go ahead.
He said that CJ was, Conrad was the guy that he would communicate to
Yeah.
when he wasn't talking to Will directly.
Yeah.
What about CJ, a former player, grad assistant? What have you seen from him?
CJ's he's just a solid guy, very smart, very bright, you know, has a very clear head on his shoulders and can communicate those things. And so anytime, as Rich is saying, CJ, make sure he's, you know, have him look here or look there, you know what I mean? Like if we're coming out of a TV or a timeout or anything, here's the play, you know, here's option one, here's his first read, here's his second read, and CJ communicating that with them. So, you know, it helps. You know, we have restrictions on how many guys are allowed to have headsets on. So we have some really talented guys that are allowed to do things in the office that are really good, and but they're not allowed to communicate during the games, as far as back and forth with the headset.
One last follow-up on after the game, Coach Drinkwitz said, I don't understand how they got the ball back, and he didn't really understand the rule about still being in the tackle box. Caught us by surprise. Had you ever encountered that? Did you know at the time that?
Well, it doesn't catch you by surprise. You know that. I mean, but because you know that rule with here's I think what he was referring to, and and he knows this and understands that too. When you have rugby like Max last year in Aussies, if you're rolling, you are not protected. You know, that's clear. You know, so in our rules, you know, it protects American punters, so to speak. You know what I mean? Like, you know, if you're rolling, because you can run it. You see it all the time on rugby guys. If they're not, if they're not attacking you and they feel that, they could pull it down and run. So they're not protected. You could tackle them or you could rough them because you don't know if they're a runner or a kicker. And we were fortunate in that it went directly back. I'll be the first to admit that. And then Colin made one heck of a play, and but he was clearly in the tackle box, and we were fortunate, you know. But
Even after it hit the ground, one official told us later that once it hits the ground, that's off. But he still managed to stay in the tackle box, which surprised us.
yeah, no. If he's in the tackle box, he's protected.
Yeah. Whether it hits the ground.
He's protected. Yeah, if he rolls out again like the Aussie punters, you are not protected. So, and it's, you know, you could say the same thing about a quarterback if the ball snapped over his head and they intentionally ground it. You can't, 25 yards back, you cannot intentionally ground it unless it gets across the line of scrimmage and you're outside the tackle box. Same thing. Again, weird play. You know, be the first one to admit that Colin made a heads-up play, and we're fortunate to get it off without him. If he just nips it a little bit, the punter's not protected either. So, anyway.
Thank you very much.
What's that?
You know, Veterans Day message. Veterans Day this week.
Always appreciate you and the veterans. Can't thank you enough, really. I mean that. Close to a lot of them, and you know, most selfless people in the world. So thank you.
JJ wanted that last touchdown, huh?
Yeah.